Morning Coffee by Xnav. The Smart Marketer Talk.
We are just immersed in an age of constant noise, aren't we?
Absolutely. It feels inescapable.
Every device, every platform.
Yeah.
It feels like every corner of the digital world is demanding that we broadcast something, that we engage.
Right. And that we're constantly looking for, external validation for what we're doing, even just for existing.
Yeah, the standard thinking, the prevailing wisdom, seems to be that visibility equals success. Period.
If you want to be relevant, you have to be loud. That's the message we get.
And yet, and this is what's fascinating, if you really look closely at the people who build truly lasting authority.
But the ones with that almost like invisible pull in their fields, founders, leaders.
Exactly those. They seem to operate by a completely different set of rules, almost counterintuitive.
Yeah, their big successes often seem to pop up after these long periods where they were just quiet, almost defiantly silent.
That's the core paradox we're diving into today. In this world obsessed with talking, silence. It's actually become the loudest language of success.
It's this idea that when you stop chasing all that external noise and you turn that focus inward entirely on yourself.
Your growth, your goals, your mindset.
Precisely. You kickstart this powerful magnetic process. It starts attracting what you actually want instead of you chasing it.
So this is what we're calling the paradox of power.
Exactly. Our sources are pretty clear on this. The less external noise you make, the more, commanding and magnetic you actually become.
It's like all that energy you were spending chasing likes or comments or just getting people to notice you.
When that gets redirected, pulled back inside, the world genuinely starts chasing you. And look, this isn't just some feel-good philosophy.
I feel like it's strategic.
It's strategic withdrawal. And it's built on, actual science and psychological principles. It's tangible.
So our mission for this deep dive then is to give you a complete blueprint, something actionable for mastering what we're calling silent growth.
We're going to really unpack the sources, show how disciplined, quiet work, how it speaks so much louder than, say, announcing everything prematurely.
We'll get into the neuroscience, why your brain literally works better in stillness.
Then the psychology, how that stillness translates into real authority.
And finally, the practical steps, the operational side of building successfully when you're not constantly in the spotlight, in that invisible stage.
Yeah, the goal is to hand you the framework for that intentional self-focus, which leads to more clarity, real authority, and ultimately, business success.
So the question we really want you to hold on to throughout this discussion is, it's simple but kind of profound.
What if the biggest breakthrough you need right now actually requires you to just disconnect completely and focus purely inward?
Okay, let's unpack this biology piece. We often talk about silence in maybe spiritual terms.
Or maybe self-help.
Yeah, but the real power, the kind of intentional stillness we're talking about, it starts deep inside, the physical structure of your brain.
Absolutely. Before we can even talk strategy or psychology, we have to understand the biology of focus. Where does it come from?
So where do we begin? The modern brain. It's under siege, isn't it?
It really is. Constant assault. Novelty, notifications, context switching. It's relentless. Our primary energy drain these days, it isn't physical work.
No, it's mental.
It's the constant processing of non-essential inputs. Just filtering everything. So the act of deliberately pulling away from that.
From the social media feed, the need to check in constantly, all the opinions flying around.
Pulling away from that static, that's not passive. It's not just tuning out. It's an aggressive, strategic move.
And what does that move do to the brain?
It immediately forces the brain into a state that's optimized for higher function, what Cal Newport and others call deep work.
Right, deep work. We hear that term a lot. Let's make it really tangible. What's the actual measurable result when you make that strategic withdrawal?
Well, scientifically what happens is your brain stops needing to allocate so many resources to just monitoring the environment, right? Scanning for threats or opportunities or just noise. When that cognitive load drops, creativity spikes. Problem-solving efficiency, it goes way up. Because your brain can actually sustain focus on one complex thing for longer, without interruption.
And clarity. You mentioned clarity.
That's maybe the most vital outcome, especially for strategic success. That specific insight you need. For your next big business move or your creative project, you're just not going to find it when you're constantly reacting to everyone else's input. It needs space.
That distinction feels key. Shifting from reacting all the time to deliberately creating.
That's the inflection point.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not about being, unavailable or hiding. It's about strategically controlling the flow of your own energy, your intellectual energy, your emotional energy.
The silence, in this context we're building, it's not just the absence of sound.
Not at all. It's a strategic channeling of energy. Think of it like a funnel.
Okay.
If you're constantly broadcasting outwards, asking for feedback, justifying your plans, replying to every ping, your energy is spread thin. It's diffuse.
Right.
When you stop that, when you turn off the broadcast, you immediately channel that huge cognitive resource back into your internal system. And that internal focus. That's the non-negotiable step. It moves you from just reacting all the time to actually creating something sustainable. The whole input-output loop flips. It starts working for you.
And central to this whole process is this fascinating network in the brain. The default mode network. The DMN.
Yes, the DMN, crucial piece.
For someone listening who's maybe heard that term but doesn't quite grasp why it's so important strategically, why is intentional stillness so critical for how the DMN functions?
Okay, so the DMN, you can think of it as the brain's internal compass. And its narrative center. It lights up when you're not focused on a specific external task, when your mind wanders, basically.
Like daydreaming.
Sort of, but it's doing important work then. It's this complex web of brain regions, parts like the medial temporal lobe, the medial prefrontal cortex, and they're vital for high-level thinking about yourself, self-referential thought.
And stillness helps this network.
Massively. Our sources show that people who regularly practice intentional stillness, whether that's through, focused silent work, meditation, or even just taking long breaks from digital stuff, they develop significantly increased functional connectivity within the DMN. The different parts talk to each other better.
Okay, increased connectivity.
Okay.
What does that actually do for us? What are the benefits?
It strengthens three really critical functions that the DMN handles. One, insight generation. Those aha moments, they often bubble up from the DMN.
Right.
Two, deep emotional processing. It helps you integrate complex feelings, understand them, and become less reactive.
Okay, that's huge.
And three, and this is maybe the most important strategically, identity formation. The DMN is where you build your coherent sense of self, your long-term goals, your underlying strategy for life or business.
Wow.
When you're truly still, your DMN gets the chance to work. It integrates all the fragmented bits of data, experiences, thoughts from your recent life into a cohesive whole.
So let me get this straight. If I'm constantly plugged into the matrix, scrolling, multitasking, always talking or reacting, I'm essentially stopping my brain from doing its essential maintenance.
Pretty much.
And critically, I'm hindering the formation of my own clear strategy, my own sense of identity, separate from the noise.
That's the core scientific takeaway, yeah. In brains that are chronically stimulated, always waiting for the next ping, the next notification, the DMN gets buried, it's just overwhelmed by noise.
It can't function optimally.
Right. The resources it needs for that deep, reflective processing, they get diverted to shallow, quick response tasks. But intentional silence, it acts like a neural detox. It lets the DMN's self-reflective powers get stronger, more efficient.
Giving you the mental space you need.
Exactly, the space to understand complex problems and, crucially, your place in relation to them on a level that just superficial engagement can't ever reach.
Okay, beyond connectivity, let's talk other biological payoffs. What are the concrete, physiological results of being intentionally still?
Oh, the measurable results are immediate and pretty profound. First off, silence actively significantly reduces cortisol levels.
The stress hormone.
The primary stress hormone, yeah. And in sustained doses, cortisol is bad news for both physical and mental performance. Constant noise keeps it jacked up. Silence is like a natural antidote. It leads to less physical fatigue, greater mental endurance.
So stillness isn't just making you feel better, it's literally extending your capacity for hard, demanding work.
Absolutely. Secondly, intentional stillness enhances neuroplasticity.
Right, the brain's ability to change.
Yeah, its amazing ability to reorganize itself, form new neural pathways, adapt. If you're trying to learn a new skill or change a deep-seated habit or pivot your entire business strategy, you need a brain that's plastic, adaptable. Silence primes the brain for exactly that kind of adaptation.
Wow, it sounds like you're saying silence is almost the essential precondition for any kind of sustained change, personal or professional.
It's definitely the biological foundation for it. And when you put all these things together, the lower cortisol, the increased neuroplasticity, the boost in creativity from the DMN working properly,
Yeah.
the key biological outcome, the synthesis of it all, is the expansion of what we might call the space between thought and reaction.
Ah, okay. Explain that.
When a challenge hits, The market shifts suddenly, a competitor makes a move, or someone throws an insult at you in a meeting.
Right.
You need that critical fraction of a second, that space to decide your strategic response instead of just instantly reacting with some costly emotional outburst.
Got it.
Intentional silence, physically, measurably, expands that moment of choice. It empowers wisdom and strategy over raw, potentially damaging instinct.
Okay, so the science is clear. Stillness gives us the internal capacity, the focus, the calm. Now, let's talk about how that translates into external power, into authority. This is where the psychology gets really interesting.
It does. And the first psychological advantage is maybe the most fundamental: energy protection.
Energy protection.
Think about that urge many of us feel to constantly explain ourselves, defend our dreams, justify our goals to, well, almost everyone.
Yeah, that feels familiar.
Every time you do that, you're engaging in this massive, unnecessary expenditure of vital creative energy. It's often driven by insecurity, right?
Right.
Or needing that validation before you've done the work. Silence acts as the ultimate psychological shield. It barricades your creative resources. It stops that external drain.
And by stopping that drain, it creates this secondary effect, this magnetic thing you mentioned. Mystery.
That's exactly right. Silence triggers deep curiosity in others. When you're not constantly broadcasting every half-formed plan or seeking consensus on every little thing, you build this powerful kind of magnetosphere around yourself.
Okay.
The world starts trying to fill that void you've created with speculation. And interestingly, if your quiet behavior suggests disciplined action is happening behind the scenes, the speculation often leans positive.
People start asking.
What are they building? What are they working on? What big move are they getting ready to make? That focused curiosity directed at you. That's the fertile ground where authority starts to form.
Because authority often goes to the person who seems to know something the rest of us don't.
Precisely. And the moment you feel that need to explain everything, especially too early,
You basically just dissipate that authority. You lose the magnetic energy.
you immediately reduce the perception of control. Now, strategic silence. It's often misinterpreted, right? People who operate in that constant reaction mode, they see silence as weakness or indecision.
Right.
But in reality, it's a profound form of control. When you deliberately choose not to jump into the noise, when you move with that quiet, disciplined certainty, you're communicating something powerful, subconsciously.
What are you communicating?
You're communicating. I'm not defined by your validation. I don't need to prove my value to the crowd right now. My results, when they're ready, they will be my proof. That kind of quiet confidence, it commands instant respect, deep respect.
Okay, but let me push back on that a little bit. Just thinking about modern communication expectations, especially in business. If you're consistently silent or maybe non-responsive, isn't there a real risk you just come across as arrogant or aloof? Or maybe just checked out and not responsive to stakeholders? How do you find that balance?
That's a really crucial distinction. Strategic silence isn't total silence. It's not being a black hole.
Okay.
It's selective silence. It's primarily focused on protecting that vulnerable incubation phase, the messy part of growth. The difference is all in the timing and the subject. You still communicate clearly about things that are established, procedures, team needs, results you've already delivered, of course.
Yeah.
You maintain silence only around the stuff that's incomplete, messy, highly vulnerable, the creation process itself, or the strategic execution while it's happening.
So it's not ignoring people, it's choosing the battlefield.
Exactly. Arrogance ignores what's necessary. Authority simply chooses when and where to engage.
Let's make this concrete. Let's look at those sources and the case studies. Steve Jobs, 1997 Worldwide Developers Conference. It's such an iconic example of flipping hostility into authority.
Oh, it's a masterclass in psychological command.
Yeah.
You have to remember the context. Jobs had just come back to Apple. The company was, frankly, in deep trouble.
Right.
And during a Q&A, someone in the audience stands up and delivers this long, pretty insulting critique, directly challenging Jobs' competence, questioning if he even knew basic programming stuff anymore.
And what made Jobs' response so powerful wasn't just what he said.
No, not initially. It was the pause. Our sources really break this down. Jobs didn't interrupt the guy. He let the insult hang there. And then, instead of firing back defensively, which most people would do, he paused for nearly 20 full seconds. Now, in a live presentation, high stakes, 20 seconds feels like an absolute eternity.
It must have been paralyzing.
But that pause did several incredible things. First, it showed everyone his absolute control over his own internal state. No emotional reaction. Second, it forced the entire audience to shift their focus. Away from the critic, onto Jobs, waiting, anticipating not just a quick comeback, but something measured, eloquent.
You took the aggression.
Absorbed it.
Yeah.
And returned it as calm, centered authority. He completely redefined the power dynamic in that room, just through stillness.
And we see echoes of that today, right? That deliberate internal processing. Elon Musk, for example, when he gets those really tough technical or strategic questions.
Musk is famous for it. Observers call it going into a trance-like state sometimes. A really serious, complex question comes his way. He doesn't just start talking. He'll often just stare into space, totally disconnect from the immediate social pressure of the Q&A. And you can see him focusing all his intellect just on the query itself, that period of silence. It's not him being unprepared.
No, it signals something else.
It's a profound display that his priority is the quality and the strategic depth of the answer, not how fast he can deliver it. And that silence, it commands absolute respect from investors, engineers, reporters. Everyone waits.
His refusal to engage with the immediate social back and forth forces everyone else to wait on his thought process.
Exactly. And it works defensively, too. Look at Tim Cook, Apple's CEO. He faces huge, very public attack when Musk went on Twitter, criticizing Apple's App Store fees, calling them unfair taxes.
Yeah, that could have blown up into a massive negative news cycle.
Huge potential for damage. And Cook's response.
Strategic non-response.
Total strategic silence. Cook offered zero public reply, no defensive statement, no comment to the press, nothing. By refusing to engage, he did two critical things.
Okay.
One, he starved the controversy of fuel. An argument needs two sides to keep burning. He denied that. Two, he demonstrated that Apple, this multi-trillion-dollar company, wasn't going to be reactive to every public jab. The silence just neutralized the whole news cycle. The story, without any response to anchor it, just eventually faded away before it could really gain sustained traction. Quiet confidence beat the public shouting match.
So the big psychological takeaway here seems to be people who speak less, who move strategically, who don't reveal everything, they just hold more authority.
They really do, and they often gain that power simply because of their discretion, their refusal to feed that immediate frenzy for attention. They force the world to shift the burden.
Shift the burden of attention onto them.
Exactly. When you talk constantly, you're doing the work of trying to hold people's attention. When you're silent and strategic, you compel the world to do the work, wondering about you, speculating, and ultimately paying attention when you finally do act or speak. You shift the locus of control.
Okay, so I've got the internal calm from biology, the external authority from psychology.
Yeah.
Now let's connect this to the actual mechanics of building something valuable, especially in business or, the creator world today. This seems to require a real commitment to moving backstage.
It really does. The pressure today, it's immense. This whole build in public mantra.
Yeah.
Share every step, every failure, every messy detail online.
Yeah, transparency is supposed to be key.
And transparency has its place, absolutely. But our sources are pointing very clearly towards something else for durable success. The most successful founders, the creators with real staying power. They're the ones who build quiet, undeniable momentum privately.
Do they only unveil things publicly when?
When they're mature, when they're proven, when the core value is undeniable.
You call that necessary private space the invisible stage.
Yeah.
What's its specific function? Why does it have to be invisible?
It's the essential training ground. It's where the real transformation happens, the real iteration.
Yeah.
And it needs to be invisible precisely because creation is messy, failure is frequent.
Right? Of course.
And you need the psychological safety to fail fast, learn from it, and pivot without the constant draining feedback loop of public commentary and judgment. If you expose a fragile early-stage project to the world too soon,
You expose it to doubt.
criticism. Exactly, and that can kill momentum stone dead before the concept even gets a chance to breathe or prove it might actually work.
That sounds like the complete opposite of what a lot of marketing gurus preach right now.
Yeah.
You're really suggesting discipline over announcement.
Absolutely. The critical question every founder, every creator needs to ask is about resource allocation. Where is your precious mental energy going?
Is it going into tweeting about the amazing thing you're going to build?
Or is it going into actually developing the product, closing those crucial first sales, mastering the systems you need to deliver?
Because the trap is that broadcasting activity, sharing updates, asking for feedback early on, it feels like progress, doesn't it?
It feels productive. But often, it's just a diversion.
It's premature energy burnout.
But that's a great way to put it. The internal energy you need to successfully announce a big goal, the excitement, the focus, the mental projection required, it's the exact same energy you should be pouring into actually manifesting it. When you announce too early, you often get the psychological reward, the dopamine hit from the likes, the validation without having done the hard yards.
Which kills the motivation to do the actual work.
It can, yeah. And this explains why almost every overnight success story you read about.
It wasn't overnight at all.
Never. It's almost always the result of, say, 12, maybe 18 months, sometimes longer, of quiet, unobserved, relentless refinement, hard work in that invisible stage. The public only ever sees the polished end result. They don't see the silent, disciplined grind that made it inevitable.
The sources gave a really fantastic, concrete example of this. An entrepreneur who actually quantified this with a mandatory 6-month silence policy. Let's unpack that.
Yeah.
What was the thinking behind those specific metrics?
Right. This entrepreneur deliberately swam against the build-in public tide, refused to engage until 2 very specific, measurable, and actually quite challenging conditions were met.
Okay, what were they?
Condition 1, acquire 100 paying active users, not just signups, paying users.
Okay, real commitment.
Condition 2, generate over $1,000 in verifiable revenue.
Why those specific metrics? User count and revenue. Why are they better milestones than, say, getting 5,000 Twitter followers?
Because they demand real product market fit, real value delivery. Getting 100 paying users means you have to be solving a genuine problem for actual people. It forces you to focus on the product itself, not just the hype.
And the revenue.
Generating that first $1,000 proves that someone, somewhere, values your solution enough to actually part with their money for it. These metrics are the reality check. They validate that the thing works, that it creates value. Social media metrics, they're often pure vanity. They track attention maybe, but not profitability or long-term sustainability.
And the outcome for this founder?
Crystal clear. Their first $10,000 in revenue came entirely from product delivery and execution, driven by quiet, focused action and discretion, not from market buzz, not from public visibility campaigns.
That's the ultimate proof, isn't it? Action over premature promises. And this brings us back quite powerfully, I think, to that idea we touched on earlier, mastering the inner world and how it reflects externally. Sometimes called the law of attraction. We need to ground this, though, firmly in strategy, not mysticism.
Absolutely. We have to reframe that phrase for a business context. Look, the algorithm of life, if you want to call it that, it only starts working for you when you master your internal systems first. The external world market opportunities showing up, the right partners appearing, customers finding you, it's largely a reflection of your internal state, your preparedness, your discipline, your focus.
So if my internal world is chaotic, fractured, always looking outward, stressed about deadlines,
then your external reality will likely mirror that. Missed opportunities, poor execution, constant firefighting. Chaos reflects chaos.
But if I'm building silently, if I'm ruthlessly aligning my focus, my discipline, my energy internally, then the external results, they aren't magic.
Not at all. They're the logical, almost inevitable outcome of having built a stable, coherent internal foundation first.
So that's the relevant understanding of the law of attraction here. It's about internal alignment.
Precisely. Your persistent thoughts, yes, but also your disciplined emotions, your foundational beliefs about your product's real value. These attract corresponding experiences. Internal manifestation, which means the complete structured belief in the project, the systemization of how you work, the elimination of internal doubt that has to come before the big external results show up.
And the invisible stage protects that process.
It ensures you don't just build a product, you build the internal alignment required for that product to actually succeed when it finally meets the world.
Okay, we've covered the why, the biology, the psychology. Now we need the how. Let's move into execution. How do we take this powerful theory of silent success and turn it into something practical, a repeatable blueprint? How do we actually make that shift from, scattered broadcasting to laser-focused channel?
Right. This is where the discipline meets daily practice. We've distilled this whole strategy down into 4 pillars, 4 non-negotiable actions you can start implementing, today, really.
Okay, pillar number 1, detox from noise. What does that entail? Define the parameters.
This first step requires, honestly, a ruthless commitment. You have to systematically go through your inputs and unfollow, mute, block, or just completely remove anything and anyone that consistently acts as a drain on your mental energy or just causes needless distraction.
So everything from, say, political arguments online to...
Yeah, irrelevant industry gossip, aspirational content that just makes you feel bad through comparison instead of motivating action, any input that isn't directly serving your defined goals or genuine intellectual growth. It's just friction. It's slowing down your internal engine.
So this detox clears the signal-to-noise ratio internally.
Exactly. It lets your DMN operate with that maximum efficiency we talked about back in part 1. If it doesn't serve the mission, it has to go. And this isn't just like a digital Marie Kondo thing. It's about protecting your absolute most valuable asset, your attention.
Okay, crucial first step, pillar number 2, setting sacred hours. This feels like the core of the operational shift, turning focus from just a nice idea into an actual scheduled event.
Sacred hours are absolutely essential because deep work, real focused work, it just cannot happen randomly or in snatched moments. These are specific chunks of time blocked out on your calendar that you defend ruthlessly against all interruptions, external and internal if possible.
And they have to be planned ahead.
Yes, planned in advance. And crucially, other people need to know proactively that during these times you are genuinely unavailable. This means communicating clearly with partners, family, teams. During this block, I am offline and non-responsive.
What's the minimum effective dose here? How much time do we need to really get into that deep workflow state?
The research and sources consistently point to the brain needing a significant ramp-up period to shift gears into that deep focus mode. So the goal should be to aim for a minimum block of 60 to 90 minutes. 60 to 90 minutes of truly uninterrupted, deep, silent work.
And during that time, total lockdown.
Pretty much. Eliminate all distractions, phone, different room, or off. Desktop notifications, all off. Unnecessary browser tabs, closed. Use a physical timer even. Set it and respect that boundary. Your brain needs to learn that this time is protected, sacred, for high-value output only.
What about pushback? What if colleagues or family resist when someone tries to implement this?
Well, that's the test, isn't it? How serious you are strategically. The advice here is to manage expectations proactively. Don't just say, I can't talk now.
Frame it differently.
Exactly. Try something like, I have dedicated focus time scheduled from 9:00 to 10:30 this morning to finalize that strategic proposal we need. I'll respond to all messages immediately after 10:30. See? It frames the silence not as avoidance, but as a deliberate, necessary act of high productivity. For the collective good, even.
Okay, that makes sense. Pillar number 3, track progress privately. So the discretion part comes back, but applied to your internal systems now.
Exactly. Success really does seem to thrive in quiet. This is about implementing discretion to avoid that premature energy dispersal we talked about. When you track your progress privately, the satisfaction comes from the actual progress.
The feature you shipped, the customer insight you synthesized, the chapter you finished writing.
Right. Not from the temporary ego boost of getting likes for saying you were working on it. We strongly encourage tracking metrics that reflect reality. Completion rates, time saved on tasks, real insights gained, revenue closed, not vanity metrics like website clicks or social media mentions.
It keeps the focus locked on execution, not performance for an audience.
Precisely. It reserves your energy for the real work.
And that brings us to the final pillar. Pillar number 4, let results speak. This sounds like the hardest one to follow in today's attention economy.
It probably is. But it's the ultimate rule of building authority. Never, ever announce what is still in that vulnerable, messy stage of progress. Let your finished, tangible, proven results do all the talking. They replace the need for promises.
So the only thing that really warrants public commentary is
the final, valuable product or service actually delivered. Everything else needs to stay under the protection of that invisible stage. This also ensures that when you do finally speak or announce something,
your words carry weight.
Immediate weight, because they're backed by proven competence, not just speculative intent or hope.
Okay, let's pull these 4 pillars together. If someone consistently puts these into practice, what's the cumulative energy payoff? What does this silent execution deliver over time?
Okay, 3 main things. Firstly, that deep, uninterrupted work. It radically enhances your focus, obviously. It boosts productivity, yes. But crucially, it significantly elevates the quality of your output. Because you're operating in flow without constant switching, you just accomplish dramatically more, often in less total time.
That's real leverage. Less time, higher quality. Powerful.
Secondly, and this ties right back to our DMN discussion, when your internal state, your internal vibration, if you like, is calm, When you're not frantic, not reactive, not chasing external approval, your strategic decisions become infinitely sharper.
Stillness attracts clarity.
It really does. Because you're not operating from a place of chaos anymore. High stress drives costly, reactive mistakes. Internal stillness drives considered, strategic, long-term wins.
And the third payoff, that magnetic effect you mentioned. When you ruthlessly protect your focus, opportunities start coming to you.
They genuinely do. It sounds a bit mystical, but it's logical. Because you're operating from this place of supreme internal alignment, disciplined energy. The world just naturally recognizes that. It converges on that focused energy. Investors see the rigor, customers recognize the quality, even competitors start to respect the quiet command you project.
So you stop hunting for opportunities.
And you start becoming the magnet that attracts them, effortlessly, almost.
So the big takeaway here is, the first critical step towards lasting success isn't necessarily finding some new growth hack or a viral marketing trick.
No, it's learning how to work in absolute disciplined silence. Because that's when you're not just chasing temporary excitement. You're building foundational alignment, the structure that supports everything else. So we've really taken a journey here, haven't we? From the biological core, understanding how stillness physically changes your brain, the DMN, cortisol.
Right, down to the nuts and bolts.
All the way to the psychological exterior. How that discretion builds real authority and control in the outside world.
And we wrapped it up with the operational blueprint. Those 4 practical pillars that can shift your whole approach, away from scattered reactive broadcasting.
Towards highly focused, magnetic channeling of your energy, pointed right at your defined goal.
The central truth seems to be this. Silence isn't just emptiness. It's not the absence of sound. It's the presence of strength.
Measurable internal strength.
Yeah, and when you make that deliberate choice, that commitment to focus entirely on yourself, on your process, and you stay silent through that messy middle part,
Life just starts to align piece by piece, quietly, often in the background without fanfare.
until one day the outside world finally notices the results, observes your success, and they wonder, genuinely amazed. How on earth did they do that? How did they build that authority, that success, seemingly out of nowhere?
And you'll probably just smile. Because you'll know the secret. That quiet, profound secret of building from a place of unshakable internal alignment first.
We've established that the loudest, most powerful move is often the one made in silence. We've dug into the neuroscience of why that stillness expands that crucial space between stimulus and strategic reaction. So now, we want to leave you with one final provocative thought to chew on.
We all have them, those pivotal challenges, right? That monumental decision you've been wrestling with, that really intractable problem you just haven't been able to crack.
Consider this. What if resolving it requires exactly what we've been talking about? What if the answer is waiting for you in 90 minutes of ruthlessly defended, absolute total silence?
Go find that stillness, go schedule it. The answer might just be waiting for you there.